Hello, 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 everyone. Let me get y'all all set up. I've been running all day, so I got to make sure I'm all set up, guys. Hey guys, hey guys. So we do have some of our panelists that's going to be getting on shortly. This has been a crazy busy week for everyone, so everyone is making sure they kind of get settled down. Again, my name is Annetta Williams, the certified life coach, minister, singer, behavioral nurse, whatever you need me to be. I am spiritual counselor. We're going to talk about a lot of dating and relationship topics tonight. Some of our topics that we're going to openly discuss. Um, Guys, we have some great panelists that's coming on. We have Denise. Diana is a life certified life coach as well. She may or may not be able to jump in on tonight, but we do have Pastor Sean Harden who will be coming on, Minister Joshua Hutchins. So we have some great speakers coming on. Of course, everyone gets on and they ask their questions and they leave their response and answers. So we'll be able to do that tonight as well. But we just gonna dialogue. Again, we just keep this raw, uncut, unedited, and we just go with the vibes. So again, we're talking about dating and relationships. We're going to discuss tonight. One of our topics tonight that we're going to discuss is do men still pursue and are ladies too aggressive? We're going to also talk about, no, I'm watching this too. We're going to also talk about, are you ready for marriage? Have you forgiven past relationships? Have you forgiven? Have you been forgiven? Have you, healed from past relationships? Where are you at? Hi, Pastor Sean. How are you? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Pastor Sean. How are you?
Is that better? Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, my friend.
Good.
My friend and my brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How's your day been going so far?
So far, so good. How about yours?
My day is great. I got to hang out with my
Okay.
big brother today.
Okay. That's always
Ran
good. Family
around.
time.
Yeah, that's always fun hanging out with
Yeah.
the guy of
Family time is
wisdom.
important.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Family time
So
is
Danietta
important.
is coming in. Hopefully, if
Okay.
not,
Okay.
because we usually in one location together. Josh, Minister Josh, is
Okay.
in a meeting. He will be jumping on shortly. And then Denise will
Okay.
be coming in. We already have some people who are watching us, so they're waiting for us to get into this thick of it right here. So our topics tonight
Okay.
is do men still pursue and are ladies too aggressive? Okay. Our other
All right.
topic tonight is are you ready for marriage? And then our next topic is have you forgiven past relationships? Okay. So I thought those were good
All right.
topics that
Wonderful.
people had sent in.
They
Again,
are.
those who are watching, you can send in your topics. We'll discuss those topics. We are real, uncut, unedited conversation. Again, we are all believers, but we live life. We are human beings. We make errors, we
Yeah.
make mistakes. No one's perfect. So, Pastor Sean, go ahead
Biblical
and talk about
precepts
it.
is
Do
the real
men still pursue?
reality. Yeah. I let me start here. Let me debunk a couple of misconceptions that are always out there. There's this conception that the man is always supposed to be the hunters in terms of this, being able to pursue women in an aggressive or non-aggressive way, whatever you want to, however you want to say it. I see somebody who catches my eye or has some attraction toward, uh and then my goal is to pursue her. Number one, I still believe that men do still pursue women, and I think it's
Mhm.
always good that a man does.
Okay.
I think because initially what he's doing is showing his interest. So
Oh,
absolutely, men
okay.
still pursue women. Where we are now is just that we're trying to make sure and find out how are they pursuing them. So much
Right.
is done on the internet, through internet dating, all of these different dating sites. I mean, you can pursue somebody now with simply just by the stroke of a text. I think
Okay.
we have to get back to those features of dating. We're missing those things, the actual, connection of two individuals, mind to mind,
Okay.
face to face. We're missing that. And that's important in the pursuit
So are
is
you saying
actual.
that so are you saying nowadays we don't have that opportunity of dating like we did before? Do you think it's that because of pandemic, or you think that's because culturally we don't have that anymore?
Well, let's talk about COVID and let's talk about cultural. Then we'll talk about life. Okay.
Okay.
I think that
Okay.
COVID was a big factor in it. Um, when you talk about pursuing somebody, initially you're pursuing because you don't know that individual. So there's a lack of trust there. And
Mhm.
you're not going to invite anybody just into your house or to your job or
Right.
somewhere that's not a familiar place with you to date somebody.
Right.
COVID came in and kind of put a wrap on that for a long time. You couldn't go
Right.
to a nice restaurant. You couldn't go to a bowling alley. You couldn't do those things that you're normally accustomed to doing on the first date. So, of course, COVID had a big issue with it.
Right.
It is also to deal with a lot of culture because now you see there you can be from the same race but have a different culture, and
That's
so
true. That's true.
all of us have different culture backgrounds. We come from different areas of life. But I think one of the things that just makes it hard to pursue is the fact that life is happening to all of us. Jobs are
Right.
much more demanding now. Life is much more demanding. Uh, all of the extracurricular activities that we have are much more demanding. And
Right.
unfortunately, we just don't have that same interaction that we used to have with everybody like we used to. And now the fact, like we said just a few minutes ago, is that most of your talking conversation is done through text now. So there again, you miss the one-on-one interaction with somebody.
Right. And I also think that
Mhm.
oh, I'm sorry, I came out the camera. I think sometimes people make dating complicated.
Yes.
They make
Yeah.
it more complicated.
Hmm.
I was sharing last week and the week before last that people don't want to flow in the dating aspect anymore. They think as
Yeah.
soon as you start dating somebody, everybody you got to have a ring, you got to be have a commitment, you got to do this. Everything works such on time restraints that
Right.
people don't allow the dating aspect to flow because again, you don't know the person,
Right.
and dating is about collecting data
Sure.
and you don't know if you got to collect the data from his friends, from their family, from whoever. You don't
Google.
know. So you got to move in the facet of just collecting the information and being able to decipher and see if that person's compatible to you.
Hmm.
Because just because you have it may just be a sexual interest for someone, it
Hmm.
may not be a life interest.
Right. Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I think
Exactly.
that's where a lot of times people mess up with. They're looking at the attraction and the sexual interest as a life
Right.
interest. And it's
Right.
not really that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And we don't know
Right.
how to be
And
creative
yeah.
anymore.
Right, exactly. And I think you talk about a sexual interest and a life interest, but there also has to be a meeting in between this area. Okay,
Mhm,
then. And you
mhm.
have to understand, why am I going into this, as we're talking about this term pursuit? Why am I entering in this engagement with this person? Not a marital engagement, but in terms of just engaging my life with their life in some aspect, some kind of relationship. Why am I here again? So I think that the fact about, if I'm pursuing because I'm sexually attracted or because I see a life, I think there's a medium there that simply revolves around what kind of friends can we be to start out at.
Right,
And
right.
if you are just pursuing somebody simply because you have a sexual attraction, I don't know if that's pursuit or perversion. And I think those are two words that have to be careful in terms
Well,
of
I don't
using.
want to say, and I don't want to sit here and be like, well, no, you're wrong, Pastor. I don't want to
Sure,
say that it's pursuit or perversion. We are put on the earth because we are the opposite sex will attract. We're not going to
I
say that.
agree.
I mean,
I
I
agree
don't
with
think
that.
I'm perverted because I look at a man in the mall and be like, ooh, he fine. Mm.
No, no, no,
I don't
no,
think
no,
that's
no. I don't.
perverted. I think my
No.
afterthoughts after I thought he was fine and I had some additional thoughts after that may be perverted. But I definitely get what
Yeah.
you say.
Yeah, and that's where I'm saying, that's where I'm coming from, is in those terms of what is my only goal.
Right, right,
Because
right.
to me, if we look at it in the biblical context, then we'll look at it from the earthly context. My biblical
Mhm.
context is, I see somebody, I do have an attraction. My second context is to see what are my interest level really in this person, because I could see you, but then talk to you and discover that there's really no interest there. But then I could
Right.
also talk to you so that we have this genuine interest, and we float on the same boat. So then we
Right.
start talking, and then we develop a relationship, and then from there the relationship grows. And after the relationship is where the sexual part comes in. And then the pursuit becomes a little bit different, because you want that person to be comfortable enough with you, with your life and their life, that they want to share the intimacy role with you after you have, pursued. But the problem is too that after the man has been, for lack of a better term, after you've been received in that kind of way, and you two have become involved, we have to continue to actively pursue too. Don't
That's
forget,
true.
don't
That's
stop,
very true.
don't stop. We have to keep going
That's
with it.
very true.
Keep the
Okay,
fire
so how
burning.
would you, right?
Yeah,
How would you
keep the fire
define
burning.
the trueness and pursuit? Because sometimes people don't know the difference from somebody pursuing them and somebody just
Yeah,
being interested. Okay, because somebody
sure.
just may be, I've had people that was, I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix my hair. I've had people that was just, hi Joseph, hi Maisha, all these people on here. Hi, thank you for coming on. I've had people who just were interested sexually, but was not
Hmm.
interested in the intimacy, the knowing of you. And
Right.
people ask me questions all the time. How do you know the difference from someone who is sexually interested in you versus someone who truly have an interest to get to know you and further the relationship with you? How would you distinguish those two things?
Let me can I talk from two different perspectives?
Oh,
My
truly.
my
Yes.
first perspective is, if somebody is genuinely, holistically, and wholeheartedly interested in you, the first question they're going to come out their mouth is, "How was your day? What's going on in your life right now?
Right.
What happened in your day? Did you
Right.
eat today? What did you eat?" These are conversation starters that will incur, that will happen, as opposed to somebody saying, "What you doing? Won't you come through?" So it's terminology that
Mhm.
you have to look for
Right.
as well when it comes to somebody dealing with you, or how you deal with them. There's these phrases
Mhm.
that you have to look out for. The other side of it too, which is very, very important, this is something my mother taught me, is that in life, as a man, women appreciate a man who is consistent. Does he
Right.
just call you? What is he calling you? Is he calling you at 3 o'clock in
Mhm.
the afternoon? Is he calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning? What is what is
Right.
what is
Right.
his consistent behavior, and what is his constant behavior?
Right.
Those are things that you have to be able to determine if somebody has a genuine interest in your whole well-being. And then the sexual comes, because what I find is that most women want to give a man, most women now truly would love to be involved with the man sexually after she has found out what his genuine interest is, and she wants him to be, and she wants him to have her as his genuine interest.
And I agree with you. That is typically true. That most women
Typically.
who, and I can say, speaking from a woman, because I always shy away from when men try to speak what women want and women try to speak what men want, because
Right.
I'm not a man. I don't know what y'all
Sure.
want until y'all tell me.
Sure.
So I can typically say that
Exactly.
is true for us women. Most of the time, the intimacy level comes after we found out about the interest level. You know what I'm saying? And the
Hmm.
pursuit of
Hmm.
interest.
Hmm.
So if you are pursuing me
Right.
and there is a dedicated interest in me, and like Fitzgerald just
Sure.
said on here, time and respect. If you're giving me time and you're giving me respect, then I could definitely pursue it. I always say, if a man is truly interested in you and a man truly say
Mhm.
that he cares about you, he's going to
Right.
invest time. He's willing to
Yeah.
invest time. He's willing to see you.
Yes.
He's willing to spend time with you.
Yeah.
He's willing to assure you that there is a interest. But if a man
Yes.
doesn't do that, you need to run like Forrest Gump
Right.
with the braces
Right.
falling off your leg.
Exactly.
I mean, run like
Right.
hell.
Right. Exactly. And it goes back to an important part that you said. It's about the investment. And the biggest
Right.
thing that you could ever make as a person being involved in somebody's life, more so than money, is your time. If you invest
Mhm.
somebody's time and I invested my time into you, that should be suggestive to you that I'm interested in a lot more than, just outside of sex. I want to know where your head is, where your heart is.
Right.
What's your purpose and your goals in your life?
Right.
Because two things I want to do. I want to help you get there, or I want us to get there together, or I'm involved in my own selfish reality. And that's
Right.
going to be very important too in dealing with somebody, um, whether it be a sexual or be it a far more meaningful relationship.
Right, right. And I think that sometimes, as Christians, and sometimes in the church, sometimes we push people to get married when they're not ready. Okay.
Yes,
They're
yes,
not, they're
yeah,
they're ceremony ready, but they're not
yeah.
marital ready.
Right, right,
Okay.
right.
And I say that, and a lot of people are like, what do you mean their ceremony? Anybody
Mhm.
could give a good celebration.
That's right. That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
But everyone cannot put the good effort into making sure that their vows are sticking.
Sure,
And
sure.
that's a big thing,
Mhm.
my Wi-Fi is acting up, I'm sorry. So we want to make sure that in a relationship that there's some consistency, there's a pattern that's going on,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Yeah,
that people
absolutely.
people know the genuineness in the pattern that's going on. I'm into
That's right.
you, but that's what intimacy.
That's right.
Intimacy means into you me see.
Right.
Into me
Right.
you see. That's
Right.
what intimacy. You're into me. But if you're not divinely connected to me like that, you're not trying to get to know the whole me, then you're into what you can get out of me,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know?
Two totally different
So what do
things.
you feel about women? Do you feel like the women now are more aggressive?
I think that I think in this world that we live in, I think women are much more open with their personalities, with their sexualities. Um, I think that when you back in the day, when I was coming along, you would never see a woman in a situation on camera, on TV, or in these TikTok apps and Facebook apps, barely half dressed. You wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see that.
Mhm,
So I
mhm,
think that when women are, I think that women are much more. I don't know if the term is aggressive for me, what I would use, but I would definitely use the term. It seems that they're more inviting. They're more inviting now,
mhm.
in terms of they are inviting a man to see what they have and what they're trying to give away. Then after you
Mm,
become involved with this type of person, what you see, what they're trying to give away, then you can see how aggressive they are. So when you use the term aggressive, we have to look at it from different scopes. And the scope
okay.
is, in which way is she being aggressive? Is she aggressive physically, in terms of I'm going after him because I want him, I'll do whatever I can, I'll sabotage his relationships, or I will call him every day, I'll say, or is it a person, I'm going to send him flowers and candy and cards and give him little short sweet texts, let him know that I'm thinking about him. That being
Mm,
aggressive, because the question arises that people sometimes, I believe, misquote and take out of contextual alignment, is when the man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing.
yeah, I
That can
seen
be a
that.
very broad biblical term. Yeah, I think that people can use that term very broadly and use it for a
Mhm,
broad brushstroke, as if
mhm.
it's up to the man, the man should find or be aggressive in the role of finding the wife. But two things, though, I think we've talked about it last week, is that the wife, or the woman, has to make sure she's accessible.
That's true.
And then if,
That's
and
very
then if
true.
she's going to be acceptable, I mean, accessible, is she acceptable?
So your key word in that aspect is accessible and acceptable. You have to make sure that
Yes,
you're
absolutely.
accessible and acceptable.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
If I have interest, I'm pursuing you, and in terms, make sure that you, in terms of her being, let's go back to the question. Are women being aggressive these days? Yes, I'm sorry. I don't believe that women are necessarily being aggressive, but they're being more inviting in terms of what they're offering and showing. You just didn't have that, days ago. I mean, you can meet somebody and 5 minutes later you're asking for a pic over a text message and they're sending it.
Well, also we're living in a very sex driven society. Okay. Our society we live in is
Yeah.
very sex
Mhm.
driven. I mean, you watch TV for 30 minutes, watch television for 30 minutes and see
Yeah.
what happens. Every commercial is something seductive,
Yes.
is something promoting or something advertising some type of sensual or sexual behavior. So we live in a society that drives on sexuality. You know what I'm saying? So you have
You're
to
right.
really kind of
I
like
do. Yeah.
detox. You have to detox your mind from what society is expecting. That's the same thing as we living
Mhm.
in a society who think that every woman should be a size 3, 4, 6, and 9. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So we're living in a
Yeah.
society that if you conform to society and conform to the world, you'll be trying to please the world just to feel like you're a part of the world.
Sure. And but I think that I think in which is in society, let's put it in your terms, the society in which we live on is sexually driven. But I don't know about you, but my great grandmother had 15 children. If you
My
understand where I'm
grandmother
going with
had
it.
9.
Okay, then. So in terms of having 15 and 9 children, and that's almost 25 children between the two of them, who is driven?
Both of them.
Who okay? And the question is I think that we've always been a sexually driven people because we're human. And I think that the society that we're in now is much more public. And that's the
Mhm.
issue I think that we're having now, why sex is just given, because it's much more public. There's no privacy with sex and everything is
Yeah,
okay. No matter what type of, whether you're homosexual, heterosexual, whatever type of sexuality you have, it's so public now. And
right,
whatever is acceptable to society is okay anywhere you are.
right,
And and I think that's where people lose focus on why it's so easy to be involved with somebody sexually and move on so quick, because it's so accessible.
right.
It's so
Well, that's
accessible.
just like I always say the same thing about dating. I tell people all the time, people ask me, they'll ask me on Facebook or whatever, who are you dating? Are you dating anyone? And my key factor I always say is if I'm dating someone, you're not going to know. My relationship part is
Yeah.
going to be very private because I'm so open to
Mhm.
the public that you're not going to know
Right.
who I'm dating because that's
Right.
one part of my
Right.
life I can keep sacred and private. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. Right.
And I think many
Exactly.
times relationships are exploited. They
Yeah.
are placed on a display. They're, you look at people's Facebook page. 1 minute, I mean, you can't even be engaged. You get engaged at 7:01. By 7:02, they change their status to engaged. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
married
Mhm.
at 11 a.m. By 11:55,
Right.
you put up there you married. I think people are so quick to please other people or to satisfy
Mhm.
themselves and feeling like, okay, I finally achieved this, or I'm accomplished, or I'm connected. And sometimes people not
Mhm.
looking at whatever you do needs to be a solidified within yourself versus you
Yeah.
trying to solidify everybody else's feelings and emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the major issues that we have is that we live in also in a very fast-paced world. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is fast-paced.
Mm-hmm.
From the cars that we drive, how quickly we have to get to work, to the food that we eat, to the how soon we receive everything. Everybody like wants to order something with all these big companies because they want it right now. They want it quick. Everybody wants
Mm-hmm.
an instant relationship, and the problem is we're not working for the relationship anymore. We're giving
No.
ourselves over too quickly. We are engaging
Mm-hmm.
ourselves intimately, physically, spiritually, and emotionally too quickly. Okay, then,
Mm-hmm.
whether you be a man or woman, don't think that men don't long for relationships as well. They all want the companionship.
Right.
We all want the companionship, but the
Right.
fact is that we live in such a fast-paced, driven world now, and I believe that's why you see where relationships start so quick, but then you find out they end quick.
That's true.
You end
And a
quick
lot
because
of it is, well, the part in the Bible says about not allowing somebody to be a part of your relationship. Now we live in a society where people are automatically involving people into their relationship. And then they're later looking like, what's going on? What's going on is because you place somebody in a category or put them in a position to be able to be vocal and voice
Mhm.
opinion about your relationship instead of allowing your relationship to be sacred.
Well,
You get what
yep,
I'm saying?
Yes, and I think one other part is that too is because, again, because of the internet technology and where we are in the world and society, that you can do anything you want to just by the stroke of your fingertips on a computer or by a cell phone or wherever it might, whatever
Mhm.
device that you might have, is
Right.
that most of the time you're going to find out that you're not in a relationship with just one person, you're in a relationship with everybody who knows that person.
Everybody.
Okay, whether
Every
they want to spill some negative bitter tea, or whether they want to tell you all about this person. You see what I'm saying?
right.
And I think that's why you have to keep, until you're ready to be engaged to somebody in terms of getting ready for marriage, you should definitely keep your relationship at a private level. There's nothing wrong with introducing the person you that you're with to other people, but you don't have to broadcast every part of your relationship, because we are human beings.
Right.
And being human, we do have some undisciplines as well. Okay, then,
Undisciplined and we have some total flaws.
and some
Okay.
total flaws. We have some total flaws, and we make mistakes. And when you're engaging with somebody who is not your girlfriend, or who is not your wife, or who is not your companion or significant other, you're leaving room for the devil to take place. And that's why you have to solidify the relationship between the two of you before you start involving everybody else in it. That's the
Right.
first thing we
Right.
want to. We want to go and post pictures, and as we post a picture, oh, who's this and who is she or who is he? Uh, don't involve ourselves in that. Stay off of social media. Don't put. You don't got to put the picture of the brother or the sister up that quick. You know,
Right.
leave it alone. Let you two get acquainted with each other first
Right.
before you acquaint the
Mhm.
world with them.
I remember a time, and I'm always very transparent. I
Hmm.
remember I was dating this guy, and I'm not. I post pictures of myself quite frequently,
Hmm.
and my children and my grandchildren.
Hmm.
But I was dating this guy, and we took pictures, and he posted it on his page the next day. You
Yeah.
talk about my heart dropped in my
Yeah.
stomach. My
Yes.
heart was like, oh.
Right.
First of
Right.
all, I wasn't in a committed relationship with him. And y'all know I'm
There you
very
go.
honest. I was actually dating two other people
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
going out to dinner with them. So I was open dating.
Right.
And so the first thing I got my first phone call, like, oh, you taking pictures with men now and posting them on Facebook. I'm like, I didn't post no picture. I haven't been on Facebook all day. They like, here, I'm gonna send you the screenshot. They send me
Uh-huh.
the picture and I'm like, are you serious? And I text him like, why did you post a picture of you and I? That was a
Hmm.
picture we took in your phone. Why did you post that? He was like, well, it was in my phone. So I posted what I wanted to post on my page. That was a lesson learned for me,
Hmm.
that I do not allow anyone to have access to me in that manner, to be able to have freestanding pictures in their phone and they could be at that point of posting. At that point, I realized, you know what? You can't really get upset with him because you
Hmm.
took the picture with him and
Right.
you
Right.
granted him access to do whatever he wanted to do with the picture. So I
Right.
was like, you know what? Going forward, you will not take a picture of me in your phone.
Right.
Okay,
Hmm.
because I don't want us to be posted because not that I had to give anyone an explanation.
Right, right,
Matter of
right,
fact, even my
right.
family and friends was like, oh, you in a relationship? You ain't tell
Mhm,
nobody.
mhm.
Even though I probably will not tell anyone
Right.
but my brother.
Mhm.
But my thing is like, don't look for something and then you get your hand gets slapped and then you're looking at me side eye like why you do that? That's
Yeah.
because you did something that was not approved. So that's why I'm real tight on not posting pictures with the opposite sex
Mhm.
because it gives this alluding that we're in a relationship or we're
Yes.
dating or we're connected on some level or something like that.
Yeah. And I think the other part about it too is that there's respect of privacy that is there,
Mhm.
because a couple different things. You said if I'm open, if I'm in open, as you call it, open dating, and which means I can date multiple people if I choose to, then if he posts a picture on Facebook, you don't owe an explanation to the other person. Look, I'm
No,
dating and but the other side about it, he has to respect your privacy, is what
right.
has to happen. And that's one of the things too, is that we think that because we have a picture of somebody in our phone, or that because we take a picture, or because we have that leaves us open to discuss what we have going on with that person. And that's the other problem too that we got. We're not respecting each other's privacy like we used
Mm-mm,
to.
mm-mm.
You get angry with somebody really quick, or you say something out of the way. The next thing they want to tell you deepest, darkest secrets to everybody that they know. But the fact of the matter is, it comes back to respecting the privacy that you asked for. Maybe he wasn't aware of it, but now he is. that now
Right.
he is. And let's talk about that for a moment, because you brought up the fact about taking pictures, sharing those pictures on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it might be. I'm going back to the interest and the engagement side of things. If a man is doing those things, that also shows too that he might have a genuine interest in you and that he might be about the right thing. If he is willing to make you public in the
Well,
world in which he lives.
I don't know. I
Is he
disagree
trying
with
to
that.
is he trying to show I'm asking why you disagree? I like to know. Maybe he
Just
wants the world to know.
just because somebody makes you public on Facebook,
Sure.
it doesn't mean that he has great intentions.
It
Okay.
okay.
From
Okay.
my past, that person that made us public on Facebook is somebody that I don't even speak to now. That I was good before I knew them. I'm good during the process, and I'm great after.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So that's somebody I wouldn't have even, because we were still collecting data on each other. We still were
You're
learning
kicking it.
each other. You
We
know what
talked
I'm
last week.
saying?
We said you may be kicking it, not necessarily dating, but might be more so kicking it with that person.
If I'm just kicking it with you, don't post no pictures. We just kicking
I
it.
agree. I
You
agree.
know what I'm
I
saying?
agree. I agree. And that's why we have to be and we have to be protective of ourselves and also other people's emotions.
Right. Right.
Because you go on a date with somebody and you give that person the hug and you hug them too tight, they're gonna think, oh yeah, he's the one or she's the one. Or you
Right.
shake their hand, they're gonna think, oh, he has no interest in me. So there's these fine lines that we have when it comes
Mhm.
to starting and trying to have a relationship um, between human people. So we're
And then
not
you
we're not
just
from
have
the
to be,
animal kingdom.
I think now people just have to be conscious about what you're looking for, what you want, what's your
Put it out there.
desire, what's your plan, what's your purpose. You know what I'm
Put it out
saying?
there immediately.
Right. And you have
Mhm.
a lot of people that say, "Oh, I like you. I'm really feeling you. I'm really into you." But why are you into me? Why do you
Why?
like me? What's your
Right.
interest? What do
Right.
you see?
Right.
And
What am I
I'm that
bringing to the
person to
table?
ask all those questions. I'm like,
Yeah, me
I
too.
need to know why you into me. And
Hmm.
don't tell me you
Hmm.
into me. I'm into you because you got a great spirit. Dude,
Right.
say that for David.
Right.
Tell me
Right.
why you really into me. Tell me what your
Hmm.
interest is. Tell me what your desires is. Tell me what you want.
Now let me ask you a question. When you ask that question, what are you expecting him to say? What words are you looking for when somebody says that to you?
I'm not going to give that. And the only
Okay.
reason why is because I think that when you begin to give that, you're coaching someone emotions. I don't want to coach your emotions. I
Okay.
feel like I feel like if you truly have an interest and you truly see that I might be a part of your future or you want me a part of your future, then
Hmm.
you need to have a plan. The Bible said,
Sure.
write the vision and make it
Make it
plain.
plain. Hmm.
Honey, write the vision with Anetta's name in it and make it plain that you want Anetta to be a part of your vision and your plan.
Okay.
If you're not
I
gonna
get
do that, then
right.
we're gonna move on.
I get that. Here's a fundamental question I ask to you too. What if his or her word base and vocabulary may not be as strong as yours might be, and
Well, I don't
we're missing the concept of where we're trying to go because they don't know how to express it. That's why I asked that initial question.
well, I don't I'm not gonna think someone would speak in the manner that I speak. I think opposites attract. I'm
Mm,
definitely not gonna ever get somebody that's like me. I'm 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 very assertive. I'm
mm-hmm,
very assertive. I'm very direct. Um, I'm very how can I say I'm assertive, I'm direct,
mm-hmm.
I'm very blunt.
Okay,
What you see is what you get.
sure.
Um, I may not connect to somebody that's like that. Now,
Mm-hmm,
do I want a man that's very aggressive
mm-hmm,
and I want somebody who is a leader that can be able to, be like, you know what? Like
mm-hmm,
have some self-control because you're gonna have to
mm-hmm,
control me because
mm-hmm,
I'm a handful. You know what
mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And I definitely don't need no man that be like, whatever you want.
Right.
Because if he does that to me, I'm a railroad him.
Mm-hmm. Right. You
You
ever
know what I'm
seen?
saying?
Yeah. You ever seen a lion with another pack of lions?
A lion with another pack of lions.
With a pack of lions, that he can sit there all day and around him things can happen. But when he's ready to put his paws down, guess what? everybody listens.
That's true.
And that's the way that men kind of have to be. He has to know when and where is the time to tell a woman, let's bring it down a little bit, because you talked about you
Hmm.
want a man to be aggressive and that you're a handful. There's going to be a time when the brother's going to suggest to you, okay, baby, you know what, that's enough, and you're going to listen to him. And there's things and words and actions and tones and tunes that he has to let you know that he is serious in terms of that. Just because it goes back again to what you said about, are women, aggressive, and I guess you would mean that in terms of the aggressive in their pursuit, and use
Right.
a term, and you also use a term called assertive. And you have to know, as men and women, when do we assert our personality, or and not just assert, but when do we insert who we are into
Right.
the relationship,
Right.
So that's those
Mhm.
those those small things are important in terms of the dating scenario, and
Right.
where you
Right.
want to be with the dating scenario, because I think all people have an interest in going somewhere in dating. That's what I think. I guess the other question that I ask is, when women are dating, and we talked about it last week, because I think it goes into your subject, into your topic of the pursuit again. What are you said you weren't going to give that clues in terms of what you're looking for a man to say, and I get that, but also you have to know when let him know when he is doing something right too.
Oh yeah, you
Let him know
definitely
when
got
he's
to do
doing
that.
everything right. Hmm.
Definitely, definitely. I agree.
Right.
I agree that you definitely need to, there has to be some sense of communication to the
Hmm.
point that you're connect. I call it the CNC,
Hmm.
communication and connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There has to be the C and C. Okay.
Right.
You're communicating with me, we're connecting. We're
Right.
connecting and we're communicating. It
Sure.
definitely has to be that. And if
Sure.
it's not that, then the relationship really kind of stays in a stagnant position, because you're not getting to know me, I'm not getting to know you, because we're not communicating so we can be able to connect.
Yeah. Right. 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 And can I say this about communicating real quick? Make
Hmm.
sure that, because some people are great communicators and others are not. And what you will find out is that sometimes in relationships, and it's very rare, but it does happen, that you have people who are not great communicators with other people who are great communicators involved with people who are not communicators.
Right.
And so it's like talking to a brick wall on one end, and on the other side is like wah 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 on the other side. And
True.
so, how do we draw each other in? And that's where language and body language, understanding your person's body language.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
understand what I'm saying? When they're being honest, when they're lying, when they are trying to get something across, but maybe know not how to express it. Because sometimes you'll find that in the middle of an argument, all you really got to do is just kiss your woman, and that will settle some problems.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
Sure.
So you gonna tell me in the middle of an arguing, you honestly feel like all you got to do is kiss your woman and it'll solve
Absolutely.
some things?
Absolutely.
That's so delusional, bruh.
Absolutely.
That's
I believe that.
delusional. That's delusional.
All right, well, tell us why. I like to know why.
I don't think if I'm in the middle of arguing with my honey or whatever, and he
Hmm.
just kissed me, that's gonna solve everything or resolve or even quiet the storm. No, all that does is delay the process of what genuinely is going on.
Okay. Is the let's be honest about something too. Is the end or the finishing of the argument going to cause us to separate or not be together?
You got a point on that.
So if there is a delay, the delay really doesn't matter, because the end result is not going to be a breakup.
That's true. That's
Then
true.
what happens in that delay is that now we're starting to understand. I want to hear what you're saying, but we don't have
Someone
to
said,
argue about it.
First Lady Pierce said it softens the bullet. I
Okay.
may agree with that.
Okay.
It does
All right.
soften. It'll soften the approach. It'll
Uh-huh.
soften the communication. It might even
Yeah.
divert it a little if you take it a little further than just a kiss. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I
But the
do.
reality of it is, you got to get back to that conversation. You got to
You
get
do.
back to that
You
issue and
do.
resolve
And
it.
like she said, it softens it. It softens the conversation.
Oh yeah,
And he becomes a lot more involved as a man. I can tell you, we become in a lot more involved to the solution that a woman wants.
really? Because
Yes.
we got the spirit of persuasion.
Of course, you've always had it from the beginning of time. from the
We
beginning of
do. We got,
yeah.
we got the spirit of persuasion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
absolutely.
I believe it.
Absolutely.
So, do you think that people are ready for marriage now? Do you think what's the because I was reading some statistics and some statistics
Mhm.
was stating that right now our marriage rates are down. Like people are not getting married like they used to. What do you think that dilemma is that people are not getting married like they used to?
I contribute the lack of marriage, number one, to the consistency of people's relationships and being that and the quickening of relationships. I met the brother on Tuesday, I met the sister on Tuesday, and now we're living together on next Wednesday.
Somebody
Okay.
just said you can give out amnesia kisses.
I I suppose that you can, and I guess it's all depending too, is that how you kiss somebody, but I guess you could.
But you think that people are they're dating quick and then they're marrying even quicker, or you think
I
and
think
then the
that
marriages are not lasting?
I think marriage is down because people are getting involved in the aspect of wanting of the look and the act of marriage, but
Okay.
not the actual fundamental of the marriage. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
People are living together too quick these days. And now let's
Mm,
be honest about something. You know, if we're really into each other and you really love each other, you want to spend as much time together as you can. Let's be honest about it. So we're
true.
acting like we're married without actually being married. Okay. And I think
Okay.
the other reason why the marriage rate is down is because we continue to stay with people that we don't really trust. And
Mm,
we stay with people that we don't really trust because we're afraid of them being involved with somebody how they were involved with us.
wow.
Allow me to be transparent for a moment. I was counseling, I won't say their names. I was counseling a couple, and the gentleman, the brother, unfortunately had stepped out in the marriage. And she says, "You know what, Pastor? I I'm not concerned with the cheating aspect. I can get past that. But did he do the things to her that he does to me?" Okay,
Mm,
that hit my spirit when she says that,
mm,
because you don't want that person loving somebody how they love you.
mm.
Because if that's the case, guess what? You're not special anymore. So what happens in terms of when people being ready for marriage? We're ready. We could be ready financially, but we're not ready emotionally. We're ready financially and emotionally, but we're not ready spiritually. So we have to make sure that all the components of oneself is met before, even if you take the financial part out of it, because you can have a brother who is rich or has enough money to take care of his family, and a
Right.
woman never
Right.
has to work. And that's just somebody's preference, and vice versa. Because women these days have at home husbands, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'll be there's
Okay. So let's pause. Let's stop right there.
okay, we can, okay, I'm with you.
I was just talking to somebody the other
Hmm.
day,
Hmm.
and they were saying my husband is a stay-at-home husband.
Sure.
Not being judgmental. I'm not being judgmental.
Hmm.
I was floored. I was
Okay.
like, how is that possible?
How's that possible?
Okay. And she was very adamant about it. Well,
Hmm.
I work and I make the money and he stay home and da 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 da. And I was like, how is that possible?
Hmm. Hmm. Right.
And so I asked her, I said, well, how does that work effectively in him leading?
Hmm.
And she
Hmm.
was like, well, I lead our family because I'm working. I was
Okay.
like, that's my point.
Hmm.
From where I grew up in my aspect and thoughts is that the man leads the family. No
Is
matter if he makes less money
okay.
or whatever, he still leads the family.
Sure. Right. That's his
So,
job
so
is to
what is
lead.
your thought process with that?
Well, in
A stay-at-home husband.
sure. I personally have never been one. I would not personally be comfortable with being a stay-at-home husband. But let's talk. Can we talk about the world of finances for a moment?
Mhm.
Because you have to be financially conditioned to be able to handle a task like that, whether you be the woman or the man. Okay. For years, And I come from a family where the man had, well, let me go back even further. Let me go back 50, 60 years ago, where my great grandfather was a stay-at-home father and my great grandmother worked, right?
Really?
To- Total opposites, total opposite from 50 years ago. But
Wow.
guess what? My grandfather took care of the children. He took care of the grandchildren, took care of the great grandchildren. The house was kept, all these different, and my great grandmother took care of my, and they had a perfect marriage. They had a marriage that lasted 60 years.
Wow.
My grandfather was an outstanding man. My grandmother told me he never cheated, he never did any, and he was a very assertive man as well. He wasn't no pushover either. By the
Okay.
same token, now let's step into another realm where my that was my great grandmother. Let's talk about my grandmother and my grandfather, not my great grandparents. My grandmother and my grandfather shared the responsibilities of the home. Okay,
Mhm.
where they
Mhm.
both went to work every day. All right,
Mhm.
they both went to work. Then there's the aspect of, now here's a relationship now where you have my mother and father, where my mother makes twice as much as my father makes. The education
Wow.
levels are different, their backgrounds are different, their
Mhm.
diversity is much different. Okay. So, but however, what made them kind of work together is the fact that there's a deepened love there, where
Wow.
finance do not take over the how do I say it? Finances don't take over who the leader is in the house. The
Right.
leader
Right.
of the house should be the one who has the perpetual wisdom. But what we get leader mixed up with protector. Okay, those
That's
are the
true.
problems that we have. We get leader mixed up with protector. So you asked the question. Let me go back now because you asked the question: how is he leading if you're the one who's taking care of the house?
Right.
His leadership role is involved with the wisdom that he has, and not in terms of what his pockets might be. Because I can guarantee you that there's some rich people out there, and we could name names of people, but they don't get up and go to a 9 to 5 every day.
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And you know, even at one point, so I'm thankful that even in my own personal life is that I was able to work a lot harder when I was younger. So now here I am at the age of, I don't know, if I don't feel like going to work today, guess what? I don't have to. And if God gives me a
Mhm.
wife, guess what? She might wake up and she don't feel like going to work. She doesn't have to. So we're institutionalized that finances is what takes care of the marriage. And then we're institutionalized in the thought in the institution of protection that if he is the leader, if he is the protector, then he has to be the breadwinner and he can't be a stay-at-home husband. But
Right.
that's not true. We live in a society where women are, as you call them, they're more aggressive, they're more
Mhm.
persistent, they're much
Mhm.
more cultured, they're a lot more diverse. So they have a lot
Mhm.
to bring to the table.
Right.
And if she wants, and it's all about where somebody's comfort level is. If she is okay with him staying home, so be it. If he is okay with her staying home, so be it. And now we're living in a world now where people, fortunately, the people that I know are making more money. I can tell you,
True.
I was talking to my people who are older than me in their 60s, 65. I'm 42, so the X generation is in their 60s. They were saying that they made nowhere near the money that we made. That's why you got people who are 25 and 24 years old who are buying, you know, $200 and $300 homes these days because the people just didn't make the amount of money that we're making now.
Right.
Um, and let me just say this too on the other side too, why the marriage rate is low is because life is not allowing us to be married. We don't take time for
Mm.
marriage. Okay. We come in the front door, we come in at 7 o'clock at night, we have dinner, we go to bed, we're out the next day, the next morning.
Yeah.
We
No. No
start working.
building. No
Yes,
building time.
exactly. No building time.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
people, Anetta, unfortunately, are working 12 and 14-hour shifts because they're driven financially.
Right.
And when you work a 14 or 15-hour shift and you got to sleep for 6 to 8 hours, so when do you have time for your spouse?
Right.
You don't.
Well, that's very important, and I always say this to people, especially in marriages and relationships. You have to be able to invest in your marriage and your relationship. You
Sure.
have to be able to take that time. You got to continue dating. You have to take it 7 days in a week. You
Sure.
have to take a day out of that week and
Yes,
make
you do.
sure that you are devoting that communing time with just you and that person. And that's not just in bed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
remember a part of my marriage when I used to say something to my ex all the time about we don't spend no time together. He'd be like, I'm in the bed with you.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, I was like, yeah, you're right. He in the bed with me. Then later years went on. I was like, that's not enough. I need
Yeah.
you to, even if I'm sitting here holding the stupidest conversation,
Mm-hmm.
you're there, you're listening, you're being attentive. We're spending
Mm-hmm.
time together. We're laughing together. We're enjoying life together. We're connecting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot
Quality
of
time.
marriages end when their children get older and
Mm-hmm.
they go away to college and stuff like that. That's where a lot of marriages end because the
Yeah.
couple don't have anything common
Right.
together anymore. The
Right.
children is not the commonality anymore because they're now, moved
Yes.
on and they're, just in
Yeah.
this house and they're looking at each other like,
They become bored with each
who
other.
is you?
Right.
Who is you? Where
Right.
you come from?
Right.
You know?
Yep. Yep. Because they had other interests, and your spouse
Right.
was your interest at that time. So how do you restore that? So people have to understand. I want your viewers to remember this. These are going to be two very key important words. That quality time is where you want to be, and not always where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, you
11
definitely
p.m. at
gotta
night.
want it.
That's right. 11 p.m. at night. You're supposed to be in the bed with your wife or with your husband. Okay, then. But what happens on a Saturday at 12 o'clock? He's out over his boy's house looking at football games or playing video games or whatever else, and you might be stuck at home. And guess what? The kids could be over with their play date or something. Guess
Then
what?
that's when she got to go find her friends. Now, I do believe in self promoting. I do believe in self promoting identity.
Yeah, I
That
agree
I
with
do
that.
believe in a relationship. I
I
believe
agree
in
with
a
that.
relationship that you definitely need to have that time. So, one of our viewers asked the question. They
Sure.
said, do you think people sacrifice being mistreated because of familiarity, of comfort, and not wanting to be alone or seeing them with someone else?
She wants me to answer that, or he wants me to answer. Who's that?
That's you. You got to answer that. It's to him.
Sure. I think that it's all the above. If I can answer like that, let me break it down. I may ask you to repeat some stuff in it, but let's talk about when people are being mistreated, why they stay. People who are often mistreated in relationships who stay in the relationship is because number one, there's some type of submerged insecurity that they have.
Right.
Okay, then if you're being mistreated in a relationship, 9 times out of 10, it is out of the fact that you have some insecurity level. All right. The second thing that comes with that, in terms of, because the brother asked the question, is the fact about seeing them with someone else. We just talked about that.
Or not
Of
being
course,
alone.
yeah, of course, all of those things. Not being alone is a big factor of it. You're afraid of being alone. Nobody wants to be alone. You don't want to live alone. You want to eat alone. You want to go and do fun things alone. But
So do you
is it?
hold on, Pastor, because I don't want to lose the thought. I'm a little older now. My birthday was on Tuesday, so I'm getting
That's
old.
all right.
Lord.
That's right. You just got. That's okay. You just got better at it.
Yeah, just get better with time. Now,
That's right. Exactly.
okay, so I get stuck on that um where people don't want to be alone. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like as an individual, you have to learn how to be alone first so you
Mm-hmm.
can understand what alone doesn't mean that you're lonely.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Yes, I do.
people equate being alone with being lonely,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's not always necessarily true.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. But he said a big word in the very beginning. Do people sacrifice being mistreated not to be alone, not to have their feelings hurt, not to have emotional displacement?
Right.
When you put alone, emotional displacement, and sacrifice in the same sentence, those arise out of a level of insecurity.
True.
I tell you what, if somebody is mistreating you, spend a day away from them. You got to tough it out. Don't call, don't text. Do it for one day,
You
then
better
do it
block
for
them.
two.
I tell people to block. I said, if you know for a mere fact that he or she does not treat you the value and the worth that you are, block them
Mhm.
on your phone for 24 or 48 hours.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Because
Block.
sometimes we have to learn how to detox ourselves from toxic
Yes.
behaviors and toxic
Exactly.
manners that people
Exactly.
display to us or even portray on us. And then we sit there and start thinking that stuff is acceptable because you're familiar with it.
A mentor of mine, and here there's two different ways in terms of perspective what that we can look at it, Miss Anetta, Evangelist Anetta. I'm sorry. That two ways
You
we
don't
can
got
look
to
at it.
call me no evangelist Netta, minister Netta.
What
I'm just Netta, of a
just
servant.
Netta, just Netta. Here's a couple of things that we miss is that the first side of it is in terms of if when you're ready to separate from somebody from being mistreated, I gotta look at that word mistreated. When you're ready to separate yourself from being mistreated, go 24 hours. I had a mentor of mine named Charles Brown who says, in a marriage, one of the we'll give you two different things to look at. In a marriage, one of the worst things that you can do is separate because separation brings devices of the devil. Now you're away from a person for 24 hours. Then 24 hours becomes 2 days. 2 days becomes a week. A week
Mm,
becomes a month. Now you're at 6 months. Your emotional level of missing that person was strong 6 months ago. In 3 months, it was there, but now you're at 6 months, and now you're discovering I can actually live without this person.
mm-hmm,
7 months, now you're living without them, and 8 and 9 months, now you have moved on. Okay.
mm-hmm,
So in
mm-hmm.
terms of being mistreated, don't be afraid to separate yourself. Don't be afraid of the sacrifice of leaving either if you're being mistreated. Now, the other side of that, if you were involved in a relationship and you want it to work, and both people want it to work, I don't advise, separating. Now, if your safety is in jeopardy, your health is in jeopardy, your life is in jeopardy, your freedom is in jeopardy. Those are areas as a pastor, what I would advise somebody not to continue to be involved in a relationship where your life, your health, and your safety are in jeopardy. Okay. Now, other things where those things I don't place where that's not involved in, don't be afraid to work it out. Don't be afraid of the sacrifice of letting some ego down and the sacrifice of saying, I do want to work it out. The sacrifice of saying, I do apologize. Don't be
Okay.
afraid to do those things either.
Okay. So, Mr. Rodney, did we answer your question that you had, or do you want us
I'll
to
answer it again if I
elaborate?
have to.
Yeah, if you want us to elaborate on that, we can. We want to make sure that we did answer your question. I would say to anyone, if you're feeling like you have to sacrifice yourself to a point that you're losing your identity in a relationship, you really need to reevaluate if that's the relationship for you. Okay. You really need to evaluate that. Um, the one thing I always say about relationships and things in general, relationships are an enhancement to you individually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people look for a relationship to solidify who they are. And that's
Right.
not a good place to be in when you're looking
That's
for
right.
something to solidify who you are as an individual. That's just
Mm-hmm.
not healthy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Right.
many times I want people to understand that it's not healthy because you end up being in a relationship that is not fruitful for you, or it's not a part of your future. It's not a divine connection.
Yeah.
It's somebody who just,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're just hanging out with somebody and it's just you spending time with them, then by all means, that's what you do. But if you are looking for
Right.
something to have a little more potential and a little more future, then don't just waste your time with somebody just to have them as a void filler. And I think a lot of times
Right.
people
Right.
are walking
Exactly.
around with a lot of void fillers, and the void fillers is
Yes.
taking up the time for the real person to come,
Yes.
you
Exactly.
know?
Exactly. Taking up space.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
So,
And that's why I'm glad he used that term sacrifice because those are
mhm,
important. Sacrifice
mhm.
works in the negative and the positive.
Yeah, it does. Because you also do need to understand if you're getting in a relationship and it's something that is going to a marriage, there is some sacrifices that need to be made. Okay.
Yes,
There is definitely some sacrifices that need to be made.
absolutely.
He said, yes, it's what I do. I just know a lot of people that stick around because they don't want to leave or feel they can't, but they know it's hurting them. I just put that question out there, hoping it would help someone.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
I
that's a
hope
good
it
question.
does. I hope it does
Yeah,
help someone
yeah.
understand. People got to get to the point of understanding the trueness of themselves,
Right,
you
right,
know.
right.
And a lot of
Yeah,
times we don't understand that because we get stuck in a place,
right. Yeah.
and that's not always good when you're stuck in this place and you don't know who you are as an individual,
Mhm.
you know.
Right, absolutely. And to go back, when you were asking if we can go back for a moment, where you talked about what makes somebody ready for marriage,
Mm-hmm.
we should ready for marriage. We talked about some of the financial piece a little bit. That finances are not always what make you prepared or unprepared for marriage. I think we come back to a concept which is biblical, but it's also world reality as well, where it says, "Don't be unequally yoked."
Yeah.
In other words, being with somebody who is not at the same level as you are, not at the same speed or where you are at in whatever. We have to make sure that when we do marry somebody, that we are marrying somebody who is in the same page as us. Because when you're
Mm-hmm.
not, you'll have a combative marriage. And
Right.
every time you walk through the door, what I learned is that when your marriage is starting to fail, is when you
Mm-hmm.
walk in a house and they're like, you're walking too loud. And simply walking too loud or clicking your heel, it turns into this big chaotic argument
Right.
about something small. That's how you know when a
Like
marriage is not
why
only
you smacking
combative,
while
but
you
it's
chew?
fake.
You know.
Exactly. Why are you eating grapes? Anything, a little stuff like that. So, in terms of making sure that you're ready, is also knowing how to identify the areas where you're not ready too. People,
Mhm.
they have 3 reasons why I'm ready, but there are 10 where I'm not ready at. And because they've got 3 reasons why to be married, they'll go ahead and jump into marriage. So make sure too, in terms of asking, am I ready to be married, that all of your potential needs um, are going to be met so that you don't have a combative marriage when it's time
Mhm.
to move forward with that process. Because marriage, it's hard, and you have two. Sometimes you have two different personalities. You have all these different things going on around you. You don't know how to ask the right questions to comfort, your companion, your wife, your lover, whoever it might be, and and you find yourself in this negative energy all the time. Um, where it starts driving you to the divorce court rather than to the continued sanctity of the marriage. So
Well, one of the
all
biggest
those.
thing I say all the time for women and men is when you're dating, you have to be authentic about who you are.
Oh
And
yes.
you got to be able to be authentic about who you are. Also,
Hmm.
you got to keep up the same speed.
Sure.
So as
Sure.
much as you doing, I told somebody, this guy was saying, I really like you. I really want to, I really want to see myself with you. And I was like,
Hmm.
well, it don't show by your mannerisms. It don't show
Right.
by your drive. It don't show by your
Hmm.
movement with me. It shows
Right.
that you periodically want to stay in connection with me or contact with me.
Hmm.
That does nothing for me. You know,
Right.
that
Right.
strokes your ego to say, oh, I'm staying connected to her, but it does absolutely
Hmm.
nothing for me.
Right.
And I think
Right.
sometimes people need to know, and it's not being mean, it's not being nasty. I think we live in such a society where people are so freaking sensitive. If you're not
Sure.
interested in a
Right.
man, I don't have no problem selling a man. I'm not interested. And I say
Hmm.
this and I
Hmm.
drive this home all the time. I put men in categories. You my friend, you're
Sure.
my friend. Okay. You're my
Hmm.
bro. I think of you as a bro, you my bro. I friend zone
Hmm.
you. That means I see no potential, no future, no nothing. Okay. It's hello,
Right.
how you doing? Have a great day. Keep it moving. Matter of fact, do you want me
Hmm.
to hook you up with somebody? Because
Sure.
it ain't
Right.
me.
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
I think
Right.
sometimes we get so caught up in this image of trying to portray something or give people this stroking of their ego, or I don't want to
Hmm.
make them feel bad. I don't want them to think I'm not. No, it's not even a factor of being nice or mean. It's a factor of being honest about where you are.
Yeah. 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 Honest to where you are. That
We
goes
too
in. That
old for
goes into.
games. We too
Yeah,
old for
really, this
games.
time of your life, you know, and it goes into when you talked about I don't know if you had opened it up yet, but the forgiveness of past relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately that is important to move on to your next one.
True.
I don't think that I don't believe that you can honestly move on to your next relationship because forgiveness of the last one brings you closure. And you have to understand, ask the question, why do I need to forgive this person? Or this person should
For
ask of
you.
my forgiveness? Yeah, for
Yep.
you. For
Forgiveness
you.
is more for you than it is for that other person.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I agree. And that's
Okay.
why, yeah. Well, that's
Somebody
why
said,
in terms of
why, Annetta? Why? Why is because I got more time. I got more time behind me than I have ahead of me. So that's where I'm at. Okay. In
hmm
life.
hmm
Um, if I'm in love with someone, I'm in love with that person. Okay. And that's the
hmm
person I want to be with. I'm not going to sit here and, play Russian roulette with my heart because someone has
right,
an interest.
right, right, right. Yeah, and going back to when how the question a lot of people need to ask themselves too is when do I know that I've actually forgiven that person for some type of transgression against me of our last relationship, of us being in our relationship. I think that is when you can actually want that person to be happy,
Right.
okay, in
Mm-hmm.
the life that they're pursuing. I think also that when you can genuinely look at them and be happy for them when they have moved on with their
Mm-hmm.
life, you
Mm-hmm.
have forgiven them. I think that also when you have a sense of peace about what occurred, and you don't wish any ill thoughts or feelings or with that person, is when somebody will also know that they have met the fulfillment of forgiveness uh, from the person that they shared the last relationship with. So I hope somebody takes that with them and is able to use that. That when you leave out a relationship, that eventually you want to have a sense of peace about it when you have dissected yourself from it.
Yeah, and forgiving in a relationship takes time. You got to keep in
Yeah,
mind a broken relationship or a divorce is like experiencing a death. There are so many
exactly.
components
Yeah.
of emotions that goes into play with that. You got to grieve the
hmm
relationship,
hmm
you got to grieve the memories, you got to grieve the emotions, you got to grieve the feelings, you got to go through all that process of grieving, and then you got to get to the place that you don't feel ashamed that the relationship ended, or ashamed that the emotions of the relationship, ashamed that the people that you were connected, and then you got to be able to accept the attachments and the detachments, because we have to be honest and genuine. When you're
Right.
divorcing or
Exactly.
separating from a relationship, there are some friendships that I call them face false ships. They're not really friendships, because I believe any
hmm
relationship or friendship that you truly
Right.
have and it withers away because the relationship has, those are false ships. They're not really friendships. There are some false ships
Right.
that are going to be
Right.
detached away from you because it's obvious. People pick and choose sides. And you have to understand, when people pick and
hmm
choose sides, everyone doesn't say, oh, I'm even keel, I don't pick and choose sides. You do. You pick and choose sides. We're human. That's what we do.
You
And
do.
we always think
You
we
do.
know what
That's
happened
what
in
we do.
somebody's
We choose.
relationships, and we don't know what happened in someone's
Right.
relationships. Sometimes we have our own
Right.
perception, and our
Right.
perception be dead wrong. But you got to get to that
Right.
grieving
Right.
process and that process of understanding that the relationship no longer exists. And I think many times people
hmm
don't allow themselves to get to that grieving process in relationships. Because I heard a man said on my Facebook a while ago, he said the best healing for getting over a relationship is getting with somebody else. I was like, you're stupid.
mm
I
That's
mean, I'm
false.
not saying he was
False and
stupid. I'm just
inaccurate.
saying the comment is a stupid comment,
Right. Right. Right.
because now you're a broken person with a bunch of fragments and you're getting with somebody
Taking
and
it
you're
somewhere else.
expecting them to accept those pieces.
Yeah.
That's
It
not
doesn't work
fair.
that way.
And what
It's not.
happens is
It's
we
not at
tend
all.
to allow somebody else to try to pay for somebody else's crime. I'm not doing the time for somebody else, some other woman crime.
Right.
You go somewhere and sit on the
Right.
couch and heal. Don't.
hmm hmm
Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Talk to
tell you, after
somebody.
my divorce, I was a mess. I was like the dragon for men. I was gonna eat your
hmm
jugular up right in your face. Okay.
hmm
So I
hmm
knew I was not ready to be in a relationship. A man would say something to
Right.
me, and I was laughing in his face, like, what else you got for me?
hmm Right,
And
right.
that's because
Yeah,
I was still
absolutely.
broken.
Right. And then you have begin to heal,
Mhm.
and your healing
Mhm.
became because you forgave and you're ready for your life to move forward. And you were also happy if his had moved forward in some kind of way. You wanted
Right.
him away from you, and you were glad that he
Right.
was away.
Right.
So,
And someone just said the memories are the hardest and longest to deal with. And also don't fault yourself and learn to love and forgive yourself. And that's the
sure,
hardest part. We always want
right,
to say, push people to, you got to forgive him, you got to forgive her. But then meanwhile, they don't even forgive themselves.
right, yeah. And we're always asking questions: what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong?
Oh,
And those
yeah.
are sometimes are unfair questions to ask after it's over with.
Well, I don't think
Um,
they're unfair if they're asked in a perspective of healing, because
okay,
then you begin to take accountability
okay,
and take responsibility for some things that happen. Because I did that, you know what I'm saying? I did that in when my marriage ended. I had to take responsibility and accountability that as much as I thought I was a good wife, I
hmm,
wasn't. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
I get it.
So you got to take accountability and responsibility for some things that occur, because I say this all the time. Relationship, we join together, we
Hmm.
separate. Okay.
Right,
And the thing is about that is it takes two people for something to
sure,
go awry. Okay.
right,
And I
right,
think many times people always say, well, no, the other person. No, what happened? There's always an action and a reaction in
right.
everything.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, listen, I hope that I've answered all of your viewers' questions. I've got to be another Zoom call at
And
8:45. I have to
I am
prepare
going to
for it.
this. I thank you so much for coming on
You're
tonight.
welcome.
I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you, Pastor Sean.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
You're
you
welcome.
for
Thank you for having
giving
me.
this hour and 19 minutes of your time. And hopefully, we help
Absolutely.
somebody to know that they need to get into a place of healing and that you can date healthy, you can communicate healthy, and that you have to really do the airplane mode. Make sure you're oxygen yourself before you begin to
Yeah,
oxygen someone else. But at
exactly.
the end of the day, stay focused on being the best you.
That's right.
Don't try to give
That's
someone
right.
fragments. Okay.
Exactly. And you're exactly right. People stay focused, they'll stay fruitful, and they'll begin to live a much more prosperous life. So I hope I've answered some of the questions with you and along with you. And if next week you have me on, we look forward to it.
All right. Thank you again. I appreciate
All
you.
right,
You
you're
guys have
welcome.
a great night. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on the 3 R's Reflection, Recovery, and Redemption. Again, if you have any questions, topics, or anything like that, just throw them in your girl's mailbox and my inbox and my email, whatever you want to do. Text it to me if you have my number, my business number, of course, and we'll make sure we'll dialogue and have those topics for you. Again, have a great night, and I appreciate you all. Loves and kisses. Bye.